Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, today, the project we're working on is the old Ford tractor. So for those of you that don't know, I picked this tractor up last winter, drove to New York. A friend of mine gave it to me, absolutely free, but I had to drive to New York and pick it up and bring it home. So there was some costs involved, but way cheaper than going and actually buying an old tractor like this. So while we were cleaning up the property here in the spring, I noticed that the radiator had a slight leak to it, and I was topping it off with water a little bit more often than I'd like to. So I decided to pull the radiator out and take it to our local radiator shop. And finding a competent radiator shop that can actually repair radiators nowadays, especially where we live, is few and far between, but we do have one in town. So we dropped it off with him before we went out of town to go to Sturgis and whatnot, and he got it all taken care of for us. And I got it back, but I just haven't had time to put it back in the old tractor yet. So that is our project in this video. But today what we're doing is we're gonna flush the block. So clean radiator, nasty junk in the block, because I don't know when the last time it was done, and it just had water in it, wasn't even a coolant. So we're gonna flush it out, but that's gonna make an absolute mess down here on the ground. So that's our only goal today, is to get that washed out, so that tomorrow I can come back, the ground will be dry, and we can actually start the reinstall of the radiator. And because we don't have a water supply out here at the property where the new shop is, and yeah, guys, this is the new shop, even though we don't have it all set up yet, but that's one of the reasons I want to get the tractor fixed. So we bottled some water from the house, and I brought a water pump. I've got the generator to power the water pump. Now we do have electric here already, but the only plug-in I have is way on the other side of the building. I would have had to run like 250 feet worth of extension cords. Generator was just sitting there. I was like, well, this just makes it a whole lot easier. Threw the generator in the back of the truck. I've also got some degreaser, some purple power. We're gonna mix one of these up with degreaser in it and run it through the whole system. If they use the second bottle to flush it out. Today I've got Grayson with me as our helper. So he wanted to hang out with Papa and learn how to do some of this stuff. All right, guys, so in preparation, I put some of the purple power in here. And as you can see, the water in here is now purple compared to the clear water. And I've got the pump hooked to the generator. The pump is down on the ground so that it will gravity feed from this. Idea is we'll hook this hose to that. We'll lay this bottle down, and it should feed our system with water. All right, so there we go. Water feeds from the bottle through the hose to the pump, out of the pump through the really long hose. Yeah, I brought a 100-footer on accident. I thought I grabbed a 50-footer. And then we're gonna put a nozzle on here after we prime the system so we can pump it through the engine. And there we go. Had to do a little switcheroo on the hose because I had these plugged in backwards. I had the output on the input on the output, but problem solved. All right, guys, so we're pumping it in through the lower. It's barely coming out through the top. So I think we gotta find a way to get our thermostat to open before we do this. All right, so now we're breaking out the tools, but at least we've got the system soaking with the degreaser in it right now while we take off that thermostat housing, and then we should be able to pump everything through full volume. All right, so thermostat is out. Looks like it's a 180-degree thermostat, and it works nice and freely, so I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but chances are I'll just put a brand new one in. We put this back together just because that's the way I am, and thermostats are cheap. So now we're gonna hook our hose back up and see if we can't flush through some more. All right, there we go. Grayson's holding the hose up there. You see we've got good flow coming out over there, all that degreaser going in and out. And our degreaser tank is getting low. Pretty soon it'll run out. It's okay. You okay? Did it get you? All right, we're gonna go back to the top again. Well, I'm gonna call that a success. We have exhausted all 30 gallons of water that we brought with us, 15 gallons with the degreaser in it, flushing it out, and then 15 gallons of fresh water to get rid of the degreaser and whatever it brought. So when it was all said and done, the water was flowing out pretty clear, but it literally took almost to the very end of the 15 gallons of flush to get that water clear. And we got rid of the degreaser pretty early on, but then it was still kind of the brown, yucky water. Now I'm pretty confident it's clean, but as you can see the mess we made, everything's all soaking wet. And there's a lot of areas on this radiator that I've got to be underneath the tractor to get bolts and everything to line up and hook up the hydraulic lines and so on and so forth for the hydraulic cooler, the transmission cooler. So that's why we wanted to do this today. I have no intention of putting the radiator in today. I just wanted this done. So hopefully tomorrow this ground will dry. So when we come back, we'll be ready to put the radiator back in and get this tractor operational again. All right, guys, next day, back out here at AA, and we're gonna try and get this radiator in. As you can see, the skies are not pleasant. It's cold, it's about 46, 47 degrees, and it's been sprinkling on and off. I mean, not enough to get everything wet, just enough to make it a little bit annoying. But no helper today. Grayson stayed home to help Nana with Christmas decorations. So we're gonna try to get this done on our own, which there's not a lot he could have helped with here anyway. So let's get this radiator installed and hope it all works well. All right, so I stopped by Goliath and grabbed a handful of tools. Now this socket set here, I basically keep this in the pickup all the time in the toolbox. But grabbed a few other things. Not sure exactly what I'm gonna need. Again, the downside of projects taking too long is I don't remember exactly what I did taking this out. I remember running into a couple of headaches. I don't remember exactly what they were, but there were some challenges where the radiator wasn't just that simple to pull out. Like some things were in the way. There was a certain process, and I just don't remember what they are. So hopefully we'll figure that out. But I think the first thing we're gonna do is get the thermostat put back in that we took out yesterday. I was not able to go get a new one, but I have no reason to believe that this one is bad. And it's really easy to get to if it does fail in the future. But we're gonna get that on and then start fitting the radiator back in. Now, I honestly don't remember whether or not I even posted the video of me taking this apart. I'll be honest, I don't remember if I recorded taking this apart. So if you guys saw the video where I took the radiator out of this, leave a comment down below. I haven't looked through to see whether it's actually there or not. I may have actually recorded something, but not actually put it into a video yet. I honestly don't know. But if I have, well, then great, you saw this at this point. I just don't remember now, it's been so long. And one thing that I forgot to do yesterday, when we were flushing the engine block out, I meant to take this battery home with us and top charge it overnight, because it's been sitting here for months and chances are there's no juice left in it. That's actually the battery that was in it when I got the tractor from Gary, and I don't know how old it is, but I know that we had to charge it to get it started up there in New York. But once we got it home, I never had another issue with this not wanting to start. So even though it was dead and it's old, it's always worked. So we're gonna try to charge it up one more time and hopefully it'll be able to recover. If not, we'll just put a new battery in it. Okay, after cleaning the gasket surface and using a little bit of the right stuff, gasket maker, we got that put back on, and I torqued those down to about, I don't know, 20 Ooga Dooga elbow thingies. So now it's time to move to the radiator install. Unfortunately, it's starting to rain on me again. All right, guys, and if you look down in here, you'll see that there is a bolt hole right there. And there is another one over here on this side. Where did it go? Right there. That is where the radiator bolts in to the tractor frame. And it's basically like a carriage bolt. And then on the bottom of the radiator, you can see here, there's like a keyhole So the carriage bolt would pop in and then slide over into the square spot, and then just set this down inside there, put the nuts and washers on the bottom. And I do remember that when disassembling, one of those bolts vanished. They were both there. I had to take the nuts and washers off of both of them, but somehow in the process, one of the actual carriage bolts just vanished, disappeared. I remember spending at least half an hour or so searching for it, and unfortunately, I never found it. So I did take the one remaining, and I went out to Tractor Supply, and I found a similar one. It's not exactly the same, but I think it will still work. You know, I looked all in that area. There's only so many places it could have gone, and it's not there. It just vanished. And I even just double checked again, still can't find it. Rain's getting a little bit harder on me. Now it's actually starting to get stuff wet. I may need to cover up my tools or move the truck inside one of the garages before I continue on this. So hindsight being 2020, when I took the tractor apart, I probably really should have put it inside here. The ceilings are higher here. I could have got that bucket up high enough, and that's why I didn't put it in one of the other garage areas, just because there wasn't enough room to lift the bucket high enough to be out of the way. And I did that because the way those arms come down, it's right in the way trying to do any kind of engine work whatsoever on this thing. So here I probably could have got it up at least decent enough. The ceiling's relatively high. Not high enough to get it full extension like I have it now, but close enough. And then I would have been completely out of the weather. But at least now all my tools and equipment will stay dry because I'm at least 4 feet inside the door. While it's raining this hard, I may just sit it out for a few minutes. So here's one of the original bolts and the way it pops in there. And you see it keeps it like that. And we'll try the same with the new bolt that I bought. It definitely has a little bit more slop. It's not quite the same size, but there was nothing in between a 1/2-inch carriage bolt and a 3/8 carriage bolt, where I believe this is actually a 7/16. And it fits in there pretty good. This one fits in a little sloppy. Now I think what I'm gonna do to somewhat stabilize this, because these can move around, and I'm worried that in the process of getting it set into place, I can easily bump this and knock it out of the way. So I got a couple of pieces of scrap paper towel. I'm gonna shove them up in the holes with the head of the bolt. One, to stabilize that bolt from flopping around, and hopefully that will keep it from falling out. Now eventually the paper towel will just rot away and disintegrate, which that's not a problem because by then these will be in place. And I don't care if this disappears in the future. It's not supposed to be there permanently, just to hold them while I do this. And there we go. That gives it enough that there's still enough play in the bolt where I can line it up with the holes, but enough where it won't just fall out as I carry this around. Well, judging by that radar, it may not let up anytime soon. Now, it's not raining hard, just enough to be annoying and for me to get all wet trying to lay on the ground and get these bolts bolted in, because these are the bolts I have to lay under the tractor in order to get to. So, I don't know, maybe I'll wait just a few, and worst comes to worst, I'm going to get wet. And while we're waiting out the rain, you can see here where some of the repairs were done to stop this radiator from leaking. I know it's still an old radiator, but I really wanted to try and keep the original OEM radiator. Now this is a really nice either brass or copper unit. This thing is crazy heavy for how small it is. You know, newer ones are going to be made out of aluminum or plastic. I asked the repair guy's best judgment on whether I should just repair it or get a new one. And he honestly felt that the repair was the better job. He could have got me a new one. The new one would have cost me a little bit more money than what I paid for the repair, but it likely would not have lasted as long because this is still a really good built unit from back in the days where the new ones just aren't built the same quality. So that, and there's something kind of nostalgic about keeping the OEM old school stuff in here as well. All right, well, it took about half an hour, but the rain has let up. It's still sprinkling a little bit, but not as bad as it was. So I came out and I got the radiator dropped into place. It was a little tight because there's interference with this, there's interference with this here, but I was able to weasel it in there, and I got the bottoms to drop in with those bolts going through the holes that they're supposed to. So now we will install the nuts and washers on the bottom and just leave them loose so that we can still wiggle things around to get all the other stuff lined up when need be, but that way I don't accidentally knock it back out of its position. All right, I got those nuts started on there, and I've also connected the transmission lines, both the in and the out, and they're nice and snug. So now there's still the air intake pipe, which has to connect to the intake manifold, and it comes up and over and down into here to connect to that outlet. But I don't think I can get that in until after I've installed the fan shroud and then the fan, but I don't remember which order they came out. But I'm looking at it, the fan shroud definitely can't go in before the top radiator hose goes in, but I can probably do the bottom radiator hose now because the shroud will go in on top of it. I really wish I remembered how we took it all apart. And well, here I go being a dumbass again. I had set the radiator in place and got those lines on, and then I pulled out a bag with some other parts in it and forgot that these rubbers were supposed to go under the radiator to isolate between the radiator and the tractor frame itself. So I got to pull it back out. Whew, that was 10 to 15 times harder than the original installation, trying to get that up there. And of course, it misaligned the bolts, and then one of the bolts tried to fall out, but I got it. It's in there. So the next obstacle was determining upper and lower radiator hose. Pretty easy. This one's pretty long for the bottom, and the one for the top is considerably shorter. And the problem is, I guess this could fit either way, but I noticed that I've only got one hose clamp on there. This one's missing. Now guys, I'm really good at staying organized. So like you'll see this one has the two clamps on it. I put them back on and I just snug them up enough so they don't fall off. But that way everything is in its place when I go to put things back together, knowing when I took it apart that it could be a while before I put it back together. But if this isn't here, it makes me wonder, where is it? So did it break or was faulty when I took it apart and I just planned on buying a new one for it? And then I forgot until now? I don't know, but I don't have a hose clamp here that'll fit it. So I'll probably steal one from the top hose and get this bottom one all done, because the top hose I can get to add a clamp to later on. And I know I've got clamps at home. I got clamps up in Goliath. I just don't have clamps here. All right, back to where I started with no radiator in it and thoroughly frustrated. Haven't filmed a little bit in like half an hour because it's kind of ticking me off. So with the radiator in, the lower radiator hose attached, I went to trying to put on the fan shroud, which now I don't even know what I did with it. Found it, the fan shroud. Trying to get it to slide down in here and pass the water pump pulley. It's just not working. And the big problem is because of this pipe right over here on that side. So that pipe is rigid. It's fastened to the hydraulic tank that's up here in the front. And with it in its way, I can't get the fan shroud to go around and clip onto that side of the radiator to be able to slide it down. But also, I remembered one of the challenges that I found in taking it apart, the fan shroud bolts to the radiator. If you look down here, there are small holes, like there's one there, there's one there, one down here, where these really tiny screws actually held the fan shroud to the radiator. But the thing is, you can't get to those because of this being in the way. If I remember correctly, when I went to go take it apart, I fought like hell trying to get those out, because I think the way this was assembled originally is that the radiator was in place before they set this nose piece on that holds the hydraulic tank. And it's only held on by 6 bolts, but there's 6 really big bolts. And I tried to break them loose on disassembly to see if I could just get that to slide forward some to give me the room. And if I'm not mistaken, I couldn't get them loose. So I'm going to try to bolt the fan shroud back to the radiator and see if I can weasel it in there as one piece. I've got my doubts. All right, the shroud is back on it, but as you can see, the shroud was put on with these just straight slot machine screws. And there's 6 of them that go all the way around. And that's why once it was in and it was behind this lip, it was impossible to get to. Now I'm starting to wonder if I should actually take the fan itself and lay it in here. Maybe put a piece of cardboard in between to protect the actual radiator. That way it all goes in together, because I'm worried that I won't be able to fit the fan in there once all this is in, because of this lip here not being able to drop and slide the fan straight down in behind it, because that water pump pulley is actually going to stick into this area a little bit. I don't know. And if you can't tell, it's getting dark, so lighting has become a problem. So trying to do this as I'm losing light definitely doesn't help any. Okay, it was a fight, but I got it back in, and then I was able to slide the fan in afterwards. I was not able to keep the fan in place as I installed it. The thing's gonna be hard now is getting to things like the transmission fittings down there. That was so much easier to get to from up top. But now with the fan shroud in the way, I'm gonna have to go underneath to make all those connections. And to make things even worse, one of the radiator bolts fell out. So I've got to fight to try to get that up and in there. Also in the process of disconnecting this lower radiator hose again to remove the radiator so that I can install the fan shroud to reinstall the radiator. One of those worm drive clamps crapped the bed. So definitely have to get a few more clamps so I can finish this up. So there's no way this is getting done tonight, because I've maybe got 10 or 15 minutes left of light. I'm going to try to get these bolts back in and get them started, and at least get those transmission lines connected and snug down. That way they're sealed off anyways. But boy, something as easy as throwing a radiator into a tractor. Whew. All right, guys. Well, I have had enough for the night. As you can see, it is dark as you can get right now. Michaela and Zach had just come by. I guess they're trying to figure out what we're doing for dinner. Katie, I guess, tried to get a hold of me, but I was under the tractor tightening up lines and couldn't get to the phone. So it's pretty much in. But remember, I got to go get some clamps. I had another clamp fail on me too. So yeah, I need 3 clamps now because 3 have failed. So I'm going to go ahead and buy 4 and replace all 4 of them, I think. And then I've still got to bolt the fan back on, but I've got it in place. And then what's next after that? Oh yeah, some of the body covers and the front grille. And I got to pick up some antifreeze and probably some hydraulic fluid. I think it's about a quart low in oil too. So I got to bring up some other supplies. That way, once this is done, I can actually go ahead and fire it up. But I think the only thing I'm going to do tonight is pull the battery out of it so I can take it home and get it all charged up. And that way, if it's not charged fully by morning, then I know to pick up a battery while I'm out as well. When I still have to put on that intake pipe, but that will be in the way to put the fan blade on, so I don't want to do that just yet. So we're going to call this some quits for the night. We'll be back in the morning. All right, guys, back out here at the shop bright and early this morning. I did have to run out to Napa. I got there about 8:30 or so and picked up some new hose clamps so we could finish this project once and for all. I also went through my shop and pulled out some diesel oil because I noticed yesterday it was about half a quart or so low in oil. And I brought some hydraulic fluid with me as well because I know that we lost a little bit in this process. Plus, it's just been a while since I checked it because it's been sitting here for so long. So we're definitely going to go through all of that. But as you can see, it is a much more beautiful morning out here. It's chilly. It's still only about 34 degrees, but it's much better than 50 degrees and raining like it was yesterday. Now I'm actually a little bit pressed for time today. I didn't realize until yesterday afternoon that Katie and I both have appointments today. It's for massage, which, you know, we really look forward to, but at the same time, there's a part of me that would rather forego the massage so I could get this done. But I figured I'd come out here at least and get something done out this morning. Then I got to go take Katie to her appointment. And then while she's at her appointment, I'll come back and get cleaned up for my appointment because I don't want to go to a massage appointment covered in grease from working on the tractor. So that's going to limit my time. And then maybe after my appointment, if I don't have it done, we'll come back and do a little bit more. I did take the battery home last night, put it on charge. It was on a 10 amp charge all night long, and it is still not fully charged. But it is showing some fairly good voltage, so I think it's going to recover and be fine. We won't know for sure until it's done. So this morning I just left it on charge. I'm not going to have time to actually run this morning anyways. I've only got about an hour to do what I've got to do. And the frustration continues. So the obstacle I'm facing now is trying to bolt the fan back onto the fan pulley. As you can see, I don't have a whole lot of room in here, so I've got the fan in place, but I can't get the bolt holes to line up. I got all my bolts right here, but I can't get them to line up to get started. And of course, there's really no room to work in here. You know, I got big hands, and trying to get my hands in between that fan and that radiator all around the rest of the engine and everything else isn't comfortable. So I'm in weird, like, you know, cockeyed positions, and they're struggling. I've been on this like 20 minutes now, and I can't get a single bolt to start. Of course, I can only even get to the top bolt. I have to get one or two started and then rotate the engine around to get to the others because there's no way to get to the bottom ones at all. All right, well, I guess all I really needed to do was get on here and complain about it, because after I recorded that last clip, I got in there and I guess I got it turned just the right way where I finally got one started, and now I have all four of the bolts started. Now I got to tighten them up. I really wish I would have brought my 1/2-inch ratchet wrench with me. I don't have it. I just have a regular wrench, and trying to reach in there and turn it is not easy. Ratchet wrench would definitely make it faster. But at the time it would take me to go up the Goliath and get the ratchet wrench and come back, I'd probably have it done. So I'm just going to continue. Maybe, just maybe, I can get in there with a 1/4-inch drive. I'm not sure. I think I tried that getting it out, and it didn't work, and had to use the ratchet wrench, but we'll see. Ooh. Finally got it, but not after dropping my ratchet down in there 3 times, and trying to get it back out was not fun. Not a lot of room in there. All right, so it's all in there and done, but I am having a little bit of an issue with alignment. I got plenty of clearance from the fan to the fan shroud at the top, but down at the bottom I'm having an interference issue down there a little ways. So I gotta see if I can straighten it. I must have just tweaked it getting in there. Remember, I had to fight and kind of push. Maybe I grabbed that corner and bent it up a little bit or something. So gotta see if I can get it to clear before we fire this thing up. All right, so everything is pretty much back together other than like the hood and stuff like that, which, you know, I'm not really concerned about till after I test run everything. I've topped it off with coolant. I even topped it off with oil, but now it's time to go get Katie and take her to her appointment. So gonna pack up my tools and wash my hands real quick and head out, and maybe we'll come back and work on this a little bit more later. Oh yeah, air intake pipe. I still gotta put that on, but that should be pretty quick and easy, I hope. All right guys, Tuesday afternoon, we're back up here at the shop working on this tractor. Now, after we got done with our appointments yesterday, it was actually getting pretty late, so decided that by the time I got home and changed my clothes to come back out here to work again, I wouldn't get much time done, and I was already showered, and so I just didn't come back out. So now I just remember where we were yesterday when we left off. I know I got to put the intake pipe back on. I'd already topped it off with coolant. Now I'm going to double check to make sure that it hasn't burped out some more air and that level may have dropped. I topped off the oil. Oh, and I charged up the battery. The battery was at home. It is fully charged as of this morning. So I'm going to throw it back in here after I double check all these fluids. I'm going to check the transmission fluid, check the rear end fluid. I can't check the loader hydraulic oil until I get it down, because right now there's oil pushed up into those tubes. So, yeah, let's get back to it. And luckily, it's warmer today. It's 42 degrees. Yesterday, it never got out of the 30s, even though it was supposed to. So it was a bit chilly out here yesterday morning. All right, the intake pipe is back on. Sorry, I had to set the camera down. Couldn't get it weaseled in there with just one hand. And my plastic Dasani bottle, that's what I used to cap off that intake port while it's sat here for so many months. You see I got one on top of the exhaust over there as well, just to keep rain from getting there, because without the muffler and the flapper on top, nothing protects it from the weather. So I think everything is back together now. I did top off a little bit more water, probably took almost a quart. And now I'm gonna check the transmission fluid. I topped off the engine oil yesterday. Yeah, I'm gonna check the transmission fluid, the final dry fluid, and then we'll install the battery maybe. Can you guys hear that? It's not real windy down here, but I can hear the wind blowing through those trees up on top of that ridge right behind me. Just like a slight, subtle roar. There is the creek back there too. The same creek that runs through our backyard runs through here. And I'm sure there's some noise coming from it as well, but it's the wind that I'm hearing mostly. All right, guys, everything is back together. All the fluids are checked. I think we're getting close to attempting our startup, but I almost made a mistake. Completely forgetting that yesterday we had a fan and shroud interference issue. And just as I was hooking up the battery in my mind thinking, ooh, we get to start it, I remembered. So I got in there with a piece of wood, found this broom handle laying around, and tried to reshape it there at the bottom, because you just can't get in there with your hands. And I think I've got it shaped to where it's not hitting. Now I say that, but I haven't started it yet. And as long as there isn't any abnormal flex in the fan, and I say flex, it's not a flex fan like per brand, but any fan with the effects of centrifugal force applied to it could expand and stretch a little bit. So hopefully it's going to work, but I think we're ready to start it. Now it's cold out. I don't know that it's going to start because it's been sitting for a long time. And like I said, it's only about 42 degrees. But I think we're going to try it. Well, I didn't bring a tripod with me, so I'm trying to find a good place to set you guys up for the cold start. Got to find something to prop you up on. All right, so hopefully that works. I've got you guys propped up on the tailgate of the truck. I had to move the truck to make it work. So let's see if this happens. All right, key on. Fuel on. Neutral. Neutral. Let's give it a go. It does this sometimes. You can hear the relay clicking, but the starter's not turning. Well, that's disappointing. Well, hang on, guys. I played with a couple connections, and I got her to try to turn over. Let's try it again. Well, I didn't want to start with it not on camera, so I stopped. You can see the smoke coming out of the pipe. It tried to turn over. There we go. Definitely a little loud without the muffler on it, so I'm gonna go inside, grab the muffler, and at least set it in place. Well, the muffler definitely quieted it down some, but that fan blade is still nicking that shroud just as it goes across the bottom. Of course, it's making a heck of a racket. and I don't want it to cause a bigger problem in the future. So I've got to do something to rectify that. But hey, it's running again at least. All right, I made a few more adjustments, and now the only ticking I hear is the normal ticking of a mechanical injection on a diesel tractor. So I'm happy with that. I'm still gonna put the hood back on and the grill back on, and then it should be ready to rock and roll. All right, so before I put this the rest of the way together, I'm just gonna let it sit here and run for 10 or 15 minutes. Make sure it gets up to operating temperature. Make sure I don't have any leaks or anything like that, so I don't have to take all this stuff back apart again. And I noticed that the two tires on the left side, a little bit low. She's got a bit of a lean to her. So before I actually operate it, I may go home and grab an air compressor. I've got the generator in the back of the truck already. That would come back and air up all the tires. And then this thing should be ready to put back to work. So I figured while it was warming up, I dropped the boom down, and you can see the chunk of ice because it's been so cold the last couple of nights. All right, guys, project is finished, and since we're going on vacation, go ahead and stowing it away inside rather than leaving it out. I really didn't like that it was out for all those months, but also now it's a new spot. If there's any leaks while I'm gone, I'll know. But it's all put back together, and I only had one leftover piece that I don't recall where it goes. What did I do with it? Yeah, this little piece right here. It's like a plate with a bolt going through it. It's got like this little double hump kind of design to it. It looks like it should hold like a set of lines against something, but there's only two lines in there that run parallel with one another. And I can't see where this bolt's in. So hopefully I'll figure it out. I'll keep it just in case. And when I find it, we'll put it back together. Well, I'm definitely pleased that this is finished. I had a couple goals when we got back from Massachusetts. Was one, I had 4 more windows to install in my house that I wanted done before Thanksgiving, and I succeeded with getting that done. And then before we head on vacation after Thanksgiving, I wanted to make sure to get this tractor done. We've got 2 more days until we leave. Well, we're probably gonna leave Thursday morning, and it's Tuesday evening now, so not even 2 days. But I'm glad it's done, and just in the nick of time. As you see, the sun is setting over there behind the ridge, and it is starting to get really cold. I can feel it in my hands, so I'm sure we're well back down into the 30s now. And by the time I get and unload all this stuff and put my tools back away in Goliath, I'm sure the sun will be set and I'll be ready to be done for the day. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and till the next time I see you, keep those engines running.